I want to begin this letter by telling you something I wish, with all my heart, someone had told me when the floor fell out from under my own feet. It's a common saying, but I want you to truly feel the weight of it. Imagine for a moment the solid ground you've walked on your entire life, the unspoken assumptions about who you are, the relationships you believed were secure, the identity you painstakingly built for yourself suddenly dissolving into smoke. One moment, you feel the comforting firmness of the earth beneath you. The next, you are in a terrifying freefall into an unknown abyss. I don't have to imagine it, because I have lived it. There was a season in my life that stretched on for what felt like a lifetime, when every structure I had so carefully and pridefully constructed came crashing down into a pile of unrecognizable rubble. My career, a thing into which I had poured the very essence of my soul, evaporated under the heat of failure. Friendships I thought were forged in unbreakable steel revealed themselves to be nothing more than brittle glass, shattering at the first sign of pressure. My own reflection in the mirror became that of a stranger, a man whose eyes were etched with a fear and a weariness I didn't recognize. I was left standing alone in the ruins of my own life, and the silence that followed was the most profound and terrifying sound I have ever known. It wasn't a quiet peace. It was an active, crushing void where my purpose used to be, a hollow echo where laughter and confidence once lived. In that deafening silence, a single, venomous question began to form, not as a shout, but as an insidious whisper. Am I all alone in this? If that question sounds even remotely familiar, if you feel the ground beneath you starting to shift, or if you are already navigating the rubble of your own storm, then this letter is for you. Before we can ever speak of weathering storms or fighting battles, we must first go deeper. We must excavate down to the very bedrock of your being. Because a house is only as strong as its foundation, and a life is only as resilient as the truth upon which it is built. So, let us first, together, establish that foundation. For most of my life, I lived under a terrible and exhausting illusion. I believed my worth was something I had to construct, piece by piece, like a grand house. Each professional achievement was a solid brick in the wall of my self-esteem. Each word of approval from a boss, a mentor, or a friend was a sturdy oak beam in the frame of my identity. The number in my bank account determined the quality of the roof over my head, and the praise of others was the fine furniture that filled the rooms. I was a relentless and anxious architect of my own value. And for a time, my house looked magnificent. It was tall, it was impressive, and from the outside, it seemed utterly unshakable. But I learned through the most painful lessons that a house built with the transient materials of this world is tragically and inevitably fragile. The opinions of others, I discovered, can rot like damp wood, infested with misunderstanding, envy, or their own insecurities. Your own achievements, which seem so solid today, can be washed away in a single, unexpected flood of failure or misfortune. The economy can shift and make your financial security vanish overnight. Your health can decline. People you trust can and will betray you. And when those things happen, the house you so carefully built comes crashing down because its foundation was laid on the shifting sands of human approval and worldly success. The world will try to define you by your mistakes or limitations, to belittle or condemn you. Their words, like termites, will eat away at your structure until it collapses. This is the first and most crucial truth you must internalize, so deeply that it becomes the very marrow in your bones. Your worth is not something you earn, it is something you are. It is not a project to be completed or a prize to be won. It is a divine, sealed fact that has existed for all of eternity. My precious child, you were chosen. I want you to sit with that word for a moment. Not evaluated, not graded, not audited. Chosen. He chose you, personally and intentionally, before the foundations of the world were ever laid. Before the first star was ignited in the vast, black canvas of the cosmos, you were known, you were planned, and you were cherished. This divine love is not contingent on your performance. It is not a transaction. It does not rise when you succeed and fall when you fail. It is not based on your goodness, your charm, your intelligence, or your ability to keep everything in your life perfectly together. It is based entirely on the simple, beautiful, immutable fact that you belong to Him. You are His. His love isn't a prize for the spiritual elite or a reward for good behavior. It is a gift, lavished upon you freely and unconditionally, and it is irrevocable. It's simply island. It is the steady, quiet assurance within your soul that gives birth to true peace. For years, I struggled to accept this. I was so accustomed to earning my keep that I didn't know how to receive a gift with no strings attached. It felt alien. But true freedom came when I finally stopped trying to deserve His love and simply started to live in it. He delights in you just as you are, not the polished up, edited version you present to the world, but the real you. The you that struggles, the you that has doubts, the you that feels messy and broken and unfinished. That is the you He loves. That is the you He fashioned in love. So, how do you live on this bedrock? It is a daily practice, a conscious discipline. Each morning, before the world has a chance to scream its frantic and contradictory demands at you, before it tries to slap a label of failure or success on you, you must take a quiet moment to remind yourself of who you truly are. You must declare it to your own soul. I am deeply, extravagantly loved. My worth is not on the table for negotiation. My acceptance never wavers. You must consciously reject the lies of those who would belittle you and refuse to pollute your soul with their negativity and fear. When you build your life on this unshakable foundation, something remarkable begins to happen. You develop a deep, inner tranquility that can exist even in the midst of outward turmoil. Your confidence is no longer a loud, brittle thing that needs constant validation. It becomes a quiet, resilient certainty. You are no longer tossed about by every wave of criticism or praise. You are anchored. This, my child, is the bedrock. This is the starting point for everything else. This profound, unchangeable truth of your unshakable worth and your unconditional belovedness is the foundation upon which a life of resilience, purpose, and joy can be built. You must know this first. You must believe this first. But a foundation, no matter how strong, is ultimately meant to be tested. It proves its strength not in the calm, sunny weather of life, but in the undeniable fury of a storm. It is one thing to believe you are loved when all is well. It is quite another to hold on to that truth when the winds of adversity begin to howl, when the rains of sorrow begin to fall, and when the floodwaters of crisis rise against the very foundation we have just laid. And so, that is what we must talk about next. How do we live on this foundation when the storms inevitably come? How does this fortress of love actually shelter us when we are under attack? So, we have laid the foundation. We have established the bedrock truth that your worth is absolute and His love for you is unconditional. But as we concluded, a foundation, no matter how strong, is ultimately meant to be tested. It proves its strength not in the calm, sunny weather of life, but in the undeniable fury of a storm. It is one thing to believe you are loved when all is well. It is quite another to hold on to that truth when the winds of adversity begin to howl, when the rains of sorrow begin to fall, and when the floodwaters of crisis rise against the very foundation we have just laid. The first thing I must tell you about these storms is the simple, unvarnished truth. They will come. I will not lie to you and offer the cheap sales pitch that a life of faith is a life free from hardship. That is a dangerous fantasy that leaves people shattered when reality inevitably hits. The path ahead will not always be easy. There will be seasons of plenty and want, joy and sorrow, peace and turmoil. To expect otherwise is to set yourself up for a crisis of faith. Instead, I want to reframe your perspective entirely. The storms of life are not a sign that your foundation is faulty or that God has abandoned you. They are the very conditions under which the strength of your foundation is proven, and the reality of His presence is most profoundly experienced. To prepare, we must first understand the nature of these storms, for they come in many forms. There is the storm of slander and false accusation. This is a particularly vicious tempest, where attacks may come laced with half-truths and outright lies, designed to wound your spirit and isolate you from others. I have felt the sting of this storm, the feeling of your name being dragged through the mud, of whispers behind your back, of your character being assassinated by those who do not know your heart. It can make you want to retreat from the world, to build walls of bitterness to protect yourself. Then there is the storm of loss and sorrow. This is a deep, slow-moving hurricane of grief. It comes when you lose someone you love, when a cherished dream dies, when your health fails, or when life feels so unbearable that the trial seems endless. During these seasons, every day can feel like a battle to keep your head above water. Joy feels like a distant memory, and hope a foolish indulgence. Your seasons of sorrow are real, and I tell you now, every tear you cry is noted and cherished. There is also the storm of failure and want. This is the tempest that assails your security and your plans. It's when a business fails, a career path closes, or financial hardship leaves you feeling powerless and afraid. It's the humbling experience of seeing your best-laid plans crumble into dust, leaving you to question your own ability and judgment. And perhaps the most insidious of all is the inner storm of doubt and anxiety. This is the battle that rages not outside, but within your own mind and heart. It is the wind of what if, the relentless rain of fear, the suffocating fog of confusion that threatens to overwhelm you. It is the voice of the enemy, striving to cast doubt on his love for you, seeking to detract and incite fear. This storm can be the most exhausting, because there seems to be nowhere to run from it. For years, my primary prayer during any of these storms was, God, make it stop. I begged Him to calm the winds, to part the clouds, to make the bad things go away. And I grew frustrated when the storm continued to rage. My great misunderstanding was this: I was asking for an umbrella when He was offering me a fortress. His protection is not always the absence of a storm, but an unbreakable shelter in the very middle of it. This is the great secret. When adversity strikes, He is your refuge. I want you to burn this image into your mind. He is an impenetrable stronghold, a mighty fortress sheltering you from every threat. Think of an ancient citadel hewn from the rock of a great mountain. Its walls are massive, deep, and cannot be breached. The winds of slander can howl against them, but they will not crumble. The waves of sorrow can crash upon their base, but they will not be moved. The fiery arrows of doubt can be launched against its parapets, but they will be extinguished. This fortress is His very presence. It is your pillar of support when all else gives way. When you are in the storm, your only task is to run into this fortress. And what do you find inside? You find a profound, almost startling experience of inner tranquility amidst the outward turmoil. From the high watchtower of the fortress, you can see the storm raging below, but you are safe, held in His embrace. Inside its deep, quiet chambers, you find a peace that transcends the fickle illusions of security the world peddles. It is a peace that defies logic. It is the feeling of being held firm when everything and everyone else is shaking. Living inside this refuge, you are infused with a new vitality and resolve. The storm that was meant to destroy you now becomes the backdrop against which you discover a strength you never knew you possessed. You find you can endure. You find you can persevere. And you will emerge from the storm with a greater boldness and bravery than you had when you entered. Your adversary may seek to incite fear, but his efforts are futile when you are sheltered in the One whose love is unassailable and whose commitment to you is unshakable. You will never face more than you can bear. because He is continually equipping and empowering you, fortifying you for the abundance that awaits. He is your staunchest ally when you feel most helpless. So, this is the great secret of the storms. They are not designed to reveal God's absence, but to prove His ever-present help. They are not meant to destroy you, but to drive you into the safety of the fortress He has always been for you. The storms reveal the strength of your foundation and the undeniable reality of your shelter. It is when the voyage is most treacherous that you discover Him as your most steadfast companion. But once you are inside the fortress, safe from the wind and the waves, a new and deeper question often begins to surface. It's a question that moves beyond mere survival. It is no longer just, "How do I get through this?" but shifts to a more profound, more searching query. Why is this happening at all? Is this storm just a random, chaotic event in a meaningless universe? Or is there a sacred purpose to the fire itself? Is the master of the fortress also the master of the fire, using it not to destroy His creation, but to change it, to shape it, to purify it? That is the mystery we must explore next, the sacred, transformative purpose of our suffering. And so, we have found our way into the fortress. We are sheltered from the howling winds of slander and the torrential rains of sorrow. We are safe. But it is here, in the quiet, protected chambers of this divine refuge, that a new and more profound question begins to echo. A question that moves beyond mere survival. Why? Why this storm in the first place? Why the pain, the loss, the struggle? If the master of this fortress is so powerful and so loving, why does He allow the storm to rage at all? Is it all just a random, chaotic event in a meaningless universe? Or could it be that there is a sacred purpose to the fire itself? Could it be that the master of the fortress is also the master of the fire, using it not to destroy His creation, but to change it, to shape it, to purify it? For many years, this question tormented me. I saw my suffering as either a divine punishment for some unknown sin or, worse, as evidence of a cold, indifferent universe. Both conclusions led to despair. The breakthrough in my life came when I began to grasp one of the most transformative truths of a life of faith. No suffering or pain is ever meaningless in His hands, for He is always at work, even in ways you cannot perceive. To help you understand this, I want you to picture not a fortress, but a workshop. It is the workshop of a master alchemist, a divine blacksmith. He looks at you and me in our raw, unformed state. He sees not just the dull ore we are, but the gleaming masterpiece we are created to be. And He knows that to get from one state to the other requires a process of intense and purposeful transformation. First, He places the ore of our lives into the crucible, into the furnace of hardship. The fire is real. The heat is intense. It feels, from our perspective, like annihilation. In this fire, the impurities of our character, the dross of pride, the corrosion of selfishness, the brittleness of fear begin to melt and burn away. It is a painful, often agonizing process, but its purpose is not to punish, it is to purify. But the work does not end in the fire. The Master then takes the glowing, purified metal of our being and places it upon the anvil of circumstance. Then, the hammer blows of trials and tribulations begin to fall. And here is the secret. These are not random, chaotic strikes. Each blow is intentional. Each strike is measured, skillful, and has a purpose. A blow of failure is meant to forge humility. A blow of betrayal is meant to teach forgiveness. A blow of loss is meant to create a deeper capacity for compassion. He is not mindlessly beating us. He is skillfully shaping us. The hardships you have faced have not defined you. They have refined you, shaping you into the person He created you to be. The very flames you have walked through were not meant to destroy you, but to refine you, to forge in you a strength and beauty that surpasses all understanding. What emerges from this process? The once dull ore becomes a shining sword, strong and useful. It becomes a beautiful chalice, capable of holding the living water of His Spirit. It becomes a masterpiece. This is why you must learn to see your scars differently. The world teaches us to hide our scars, to see them as marks of shame, damage, or failure. But in the economy of grace, your scars are badges of courage and perseverance. They are the beautiful, textured story of battles you have fought, and by His grace, won. They are the evidence that you were placed in the fire and on the anvil, and you endured. They are a testament not to your weakness, but to His faithfulness. Each scar tells a story, and that story will one day bring hope to someone else. Furthermore, you must trust the unseen work. Much of His deepest work in your life happens below the surface, like the vast, complex network of roots growing secretly in the depths of the earth, long before a single green shoot ever breaks through into the light. There will be seasons in your life when it feels like you are buried, stagnant, and making no progress at all. In reality, these are often the times when the most critical foundational work is being done. He is strengthening your root system, preparing you to stand tall and bear fruit in a future season. This is why you must place your confidence in Him, even when you do not yet see the outcomes. Trust the process. Trust the master blacksmith. This sacred work also creates within you one of the most beautiful virtues, true compassion. The pain you have endured nurtures in you a depth of wisdom and compassion that will become a healing balm for others on their own journey. You cannot truly comfort a grieving parent unless you have known loss. You cannot authentically encourage someone in the depths of failure unless you have felt its sting. Your past pain becomes a bridge of understanding to someone else's present suffering. He does not waste a single tear. So, this is the sacred secret of the fire. It is not punitive, it is purposeful. It is not meant to break you, but to make you. It refines, it shapes, it strengthens. The master of the fortress is also the master of the fire, and He is using all of it to create a masterpiece. We are not victims of chaos. We are apprentices in the divine workshop. Every challenge, every setback, every tear is imbued with meaning and is woven together to create the unique and wonderful person you are today. But this brings us to a critical point. It is one thing to understand this grand, divine purpose with our minds while we are calm and reflective. It is quite another to hold on to this truth with our hearts when the flames are actually licking at our feet and the hammer blows are falling in real time. How do we endure the process? How do we communicate with the master blacksmith while we are on the anvil? What can we possibly say to Him when we are in pain, confused, or even angry? How do we pour out our hearts in a way that connects us to His strength and doesn't feel like we are pushing Him away with our messy human emotions? This brings us to the most practical, intimate, and vital part of our journey, the sacred dialogue of prayer. And so we arrive at the heart of the matter. We find ourselves in the Master's workshop, understanding that the fire is not punitive, but purposeful. We see that the blows of the hammer upon the anvil are not random acts of cruelty, but the intentional, loving strikes of a divine artist shaping us into a masterpiece. It is a profound and beautiful truth to grasp with the mind, but how then do we endure it with our hearts? How do we hold on to this understanding when the flames are actually licking at our feet and the sound of the hammer is ringing in our ears? How do we communicate with the master blacksmith while we are on his anvil? What can we possibly say to him when we are overwhelmed with pain, drowning in confusion, or even white-hot with anger at the process itself? What words can we possibly form? This brings us to the most practical, intimate, and life-sustaining part of our entire journey, the sacred dialogue of prayer. Now, when I say prayer, I need you to erase the image that might immediately come to mind. For years, I treated prayer like a formal performance before a distant and easily offended king. My words were carefully chosen, my emotions were censored, and my requests were presented with a kind of polite, religious detachment. I was terrified of saying the wrong thing, of showing too much messy emotion, of somehow displeasing him with my raw humanity. I thought I had to have it all together before I came to him. What a terrible, faith-crushing lie that was. I am here to tell you, with the authority of a man who has been set free, that God desires your raw honesty far more than he desires your religious politeness. He is not looking for a flawless performance. He is looking for a real relationship. So I am giving you permission, the permission I wish someone had screamed at me in my youth, to be brutally, beautifully, and completely honest with him. What does that look like? It means you can weep if you must. Your tears are not a sign of weak faith. They are a sacred language that he understands perfectly. He has noted every single tear you have ever cried. Not one has escaped his notice or gone uncherished. They are precious to him, each one engraved on the palms of his hands. So do not hold them back. Let your grief and sorrow pour out like a river before him. It means you can rage if you need to. This may sound shocking, but it is one of the deepest forms of faith. It is the trust of a child who knows they can have a tantrum and their father will not abandon them. He is not a fragile human who will be wounded by your anger. He is God Almighty. He can handle your frustration, your confusion, and your accusations of why. To scream your pain at him is a profound act of faith, because it proves that deep down you still believe he is there and that he is listening. It is far more faithful than a polite, silent departure. Most of all, it means you can pour out your heart, holding nothing back, without any fear of rejection. You do not need to censor your anguish. He is deeply attuned to your heart, your doubts, your fears, and your dreams. He is intimately acquainted with every facet of your life and is unwaveringly committed to your well-being. You can come boldly into his presence and simply be you. I remember a time, years ago, when I was at my absolute breaking point. I pulled my car over to the side of a deserted road, and I just screamed. I screamed out all my pain, all my disappointment, all my anger at God for the circumstances of my life. When it was over, I sat in the silence, trembling, expecting a lightning bolt. Instead, for the first time in months, I felt a profound, unexplainable peace. In my rawest, most unfiltered moment, I had finally been real with him. And in that realness, I found him waiting not with judgment, but with a quiet, loving embrace. You must know this in the very depths of your being. Your prayers are never lost or unheard. He hears you now, just as he has heard you from the very beginning. I know there are times when the silence from heaven feels deafening, when you pray and the circumstances don't change. In those moments, it is easy to believe you have been forsaken or your words have been disregarded. That is a lie. His silence is not absence. His delay is not denial. He is the God who sees, the God who hears, the God who draws near. Sometimes he is doing a deeper work in you, a work that requires time, and an immediate answer would short-circuit the very process of refinement we just talked about. Trust that he hears you, always. This is why prayer must become more than a crisis hotline. It must become your lifeline. It should be a constant communion, a dialogue that runs through your entire day. Commune with him not only out of need, but out of sheer delight. Share your plans with him. Entrust your hopes to him. Let your morning thanks bring him immeasurable pleasure. He desires to share every moment with you, every high and low, every tear and every smile. So this is the lifeline, the sacred dialogue. It is a conversation of raw honesty, held in the absolute certainty that you are fully known, fully heard, and fully loved. It is how we stay connected to the Master's heart even while we feel the heat of his fire. It is the evidence of your confidence in his faithfulness and his promises. It is, quite simply, how we endure. But enduring is not the final goal. The master blacksmith does not place us in the fire and on the anvil just to see if we can take it. He is not testing our metal for no reason. He is forging us for a purpose. He is shaping us for a future. After the refining, after the reshaping, after the honest cries from the anvil, what then? What is the glorious future He has in store for the masterpiece He is creating? What does life look like when we step out of the workshop? No longer raw ore, but a gleaming creation, ready for the life He has planned. This brings us to our final, breathtaking destination, the dazzling horizon of hope. And so, we have come this far together. We have laid the bedrock foundation of your unconditional belovedness. We have found the impenetrable fortress that shelters you in any storm. We have walked through the Master's fire and understood its sacred, refining purpose. And we have discovered the honest, intimate, and life-sustaining dialogue of prayer that keeps us connected to His heart while we are on the anvil. But as we asked at the close of our last talk, after all this, after the refining, after the reshaping, after the honest cries from the workshop, what then? What is the glorious future He has in store for the masterpiece He has so lovingly and painstakingly created? What does life look like when the workshop doors swing open and you step out into the light? I want you to picture that moment. You step out of the dark, fiery heat of the blacksmith's forge. Your eyes, accustomed to the shadows and the glow of the furnace, slowly adjust to a brilliant, dazzling light. You feel a cool, fresh breeze on your skin for the first time in what feels like an eternity. You look down at your own hands, and you no longer see the raw, dull ore you once were. You see something strong, gleaming, resilient, and beautiful beyond all description. You are no longer a project in progress. You are a finished work of art, and the entire world awaits you. The former things, the pain, the dust, the fire, they are passing away. A new day is dawning. What may have appeared to be an ending was, in fact, the genesis of something truly glorious. You must understand that the entire process, the fire, the anvil, the storm, was never the destination. It was the preparation. He was not just making you strong, He was making you ready. Ready for the breathtaking, hope-filled future that He has dreamed for you since before time began. So what does this future, this dazzling horizon of hope, actually look like? The world often paints a very shallow picture of prosperity, but the future He has planned is infinitely richer. He declared that He wants you to prosper in every single dimension of your being, intellectually, emotionally, physically, and materially. This is a holistic prosperity. It is an intellectual and emotional flourishing where your mind is filled with His wisdom and your heart is guarded by His peace, that inner tranquility amidst outward turmoil we spoke of. It is a soul-deep rest that no worldly success can provide. It is a physical prosperity where your health will thrive, and you are infused with new vitality and resolve to live the life He has called you to. It is a relational prosperity where you will experience deep, authentic laughter and love, where you can let your guard down and be your true self. And most profoundly, it is a spiritual prosperity. This is a life lived in such beautiful and constant alignment with Him that miracles become commonplace. You will begin to encounter stunning displays of His faithfulness in your daily life, answers to long-held prayers that arrive in the most unexpected and perfect ways, spontaneous moments of incredible joy that take your breath away. When you live in this alignment, nothing can stand against you. This new dawn is a new beginning, an opportunity to step into the fullness of the life He has planned for you. But walking into this new day requires your participation. It is not a passive journey. First, you must embrace the new beginning. This means you must consciously choose to leave the pain of the past in the past. Your scars are reminders of your strength, not chains to your history. Each new day brings fresh opportunities for grace and healing. Second, you must trust the unseen path. Even though the future is bright, the road ahead may feel unfamiliar or obscured at times. This is where your faith, forged in the fire, comes into play. You must continue to walk by faith, not by sight, trusting that He has gone before you, preparing the way. He will provide clear direction, guiding you to safety, revealing your next steps and the crucial shifts you need to make just when you need them. Third, you must open your eyes to opportunity. New doors of opportunity will emerge before you, doors you couldn't have imagined before your time in the workshop. He is continually equipping and empowering you, so you must have the courage to step through these doors, even if you feel uncertain. And finally, you must maintain the sacred dialogue. The raw, honest prayer that became your lifeline in the fire is also your song of joy in the dawn. Do not let it fade. Continue to commune with him out of sheer delight, not just out of need. Share your new hopes, your new dreams, your new plans with him daily. This continued intimacy is what will sustain the miraculous nature of this new season. My precious child, this entire letter comes down to one magnificent, all-encompassing truth. You are loved beyond measure. That is the foundation, the fortress, the purpose of the fire, the language of prayer, and the light of the new dawn. It is all about his love. So let my final words to you be a blessing, a prayer that summarizes everything I have tried to share. May you rise each morning with the unshakable assurance that you are respected, known, and deeply loved. May you build your life on the unshakable foundation of his acceptance, a foundation that never wavers. When the storms of life threaten, may you always remember the way into the impenetrable fortress of his presence, where you are sheltered, safe, and secure from every threat. May you look upon the scars of your past not with shame, but with the wisdom of one who has been refined in the Master's fire, knowing that every moment has been woven together to create the unique and wonderful person you are today. May you pray with a bold and honest heart, holding nothing back, forever confident that you are heard, cherished, and understood more fully than you can imagine. And may you walk boldly into the bright destiny he has dreamed for you, a future filled with his boundless love, true prosperity, and the soul-deep rest that comes from being perfectly aligned with your Creator. Remember always, you are held securely in his mighty hand, and he will never let you go. I am your shepherd, your unceasing encouragement. Walk with me, and you will ascend the heights and traverse the depths unhindered. Trust in my unfailing love, for it is your strength. Rest in my boundless grace, for it is sufficient for you. Move forward in my perfect power, which is made complete in your weakness. This is my eternal promise to you, sealed for all time. Amen.